Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Diane Gutierrez. Marty Keller here. We welcome everybody to the Intentional Living podcast that Dan and I record on a regular basis. We're here to talk about the intentional living practice, and this is all based on a quotation from our close personal friend Socrates,
Mhm.
who said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." In
Absolutely.
what we're dealing with here in the intentional living process is uncovering hidden subconscious psychological currents that often control our lives without our awareness. They lead to compulsive behaviors, compulsive thoughts, self-destructive activities, activities that keep people away from us. So what we want to do here is figure out or take a look at what those are and decide whether we want those to be permanently running our lives, or do we want something else? And if we want something else, how do we implant that into our subconscious? How do we reprogram our subconscious processes so that the life that we're experiencing is the one that we want in our conscious minds? And so Dan, we thought today we would talk about this whole idea of what do I want?
Right.
And because we have a number of accountability practice principles that are part of this intentional living process. And as you know, John and I have been going through those on the other version of this podcast.
Mm.
And the one we started out with, which is always controversial, particularly to newcomers, is I'm always getting what I want. So we thought
Right.
we'd talk today about the power and the centrality of desire to as a factor running our lives.
Right. Yeah, to me, the most important question to continue or focus on is to continue to focus on asking the question, is what do I want? You know, and I don't know how, well, you can't do this work with it without having an answer. Um, a lot of people balk at the question, I don't know what I want. Um, well, you know, let's see if we can't narrow it down. It's not like you're going to do it wrong, and it's not something that has to be for a lifetime. It's what's going on in your life right now. Like, what do you want? And from peace of mind to a better job or better education or different education. It doesn't really matter what the answer is. It goes along with one of the principles. The quality of my life is determined by the focus of my attention. And by answering that question, what do I want? You create a focus for your conscious mind. And the flip side to that is if you don't have a conscious focus or an intention, your subconscious mind starts running. That's its job, is to handle the daily business based on its awareness, its stored memory, its stored habits, its stored beliefs, and it starts to run on autopilot. Um, that's the part of the intentional living process, is to create that focus, a conscious focus. You answering that question, what do you want that you may not have or weren't able to have and sustain? Um, Without it, your subconscious is running the show, and you know whatever shows up in your life, you just call it fate. That's the, I mean, that's the short of it. I mean, it's not a blame or a judgment on things. It's just the actuality of it. If you don't want it, if you don't know what you want, well, then you're going to continue to get what you want or what you've gotten. And what's the other principle? That you're always getting what you want. And if you don't know what you want, well, then you're going to continue to get what you don't want.
Well, actually, what we're getting in that case is what some part of our subconscious wants. because
right?
we're always getting what we want, I think is a it's a universally true principle. And the power of our practice is precisely what you were driving to, and maybe I preempted you, which is if my results in my life are what my conscious mind says I don't want, then it's the invitation to look into the subconscious mind to find out the subconscious mind's desire for anxiety, stress, in my case, for continually being in debt. Um, and once I discovered that, once I was willing to own that there was a part of me that liked the stress and anxiety of being in debt, and I gave myself permission to for that to be true, I actually let myself out of that prison because I brought that subconscious desire into the light. And rather than fight it, I was able to befriend it. And that makes all the difference is that ability to know the truth of ourselves and be in relationship with it. It's a loving relationship. Otherwise, we have that principle: what we resist persists.
Right.
And John and I just had a conversation about we become what we hate, and so which are all versions of I'm always getting what I want.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and that's what the accountability practice does. Is can it identify what's going on and why the results show up the way they do, no matter how bizarre it appears and how illogical it may seem. Um, owning the results is a way to have a window into what's going on into the subconscious. Like our introduction, you know. Um, creating change is not about going back and changing the past. It's about going forward and creating something new.
Right.
And that's what that question does. It constantly creates that what is it you want to have? What is it you want to have? And the desire to want something versus need something, I get that too a lot. It's like, well, wanting is like having something extra. We need to focus on what I need, and it's like, okay, um, so so what do you need? Let's go there, right? Or and then after the conversation goes on, it's like, okay, what do you going back to what you want? Wanting is not an admission of you're lacking anything. When you answer that question, what do you want? It's more of I'm giving myself permission to go in a new direction. This is validating yourself by honoring, what your internal desires are, not necessarily coming from an old belief system. A lot of people, well, I need a car, I need a job, I need a house, and I support you in that, right? If that's what you believe you want, then let's figure out how to what's standing in your way. But at least you have a direction. At least you have a focus on where you want to go. It doesn't necessarily you don't have to have the ultimate want, or you can just have a desire. What is it you want that you don't have right now? I want a job. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily what it is. At least it's a direction, which in turn creates a focus, and then you can based on that awareness, now you can start figuring out, what's standing in your way. From one of my classics is, I say I want to lose weight, and there I am sitting at Carl's Jr. stuffing a hamburger in my face, and I don't know how many times I say I want to lose weight, but and I look at the food in my hand, and it's like, I don't, yeah, I got to own the truth. I really don't want to lose weight. I want to eat my hamburger and enjoy the way it tastes. And okay, so what do I want that I don't have? what do I want? What do I want here? I want to eat healthy. All right, well, let's do that. I intend to eat healthy. And it's like, okay. And the shift changed. The idea of losing weight has that there's something wrong with being overweight to begin with. And it's like, okay, why am I desiring to lose weight? It's like, okay, well, that's because I shouldn't weigh what I do. Well, accountability practices on the fact that, yeah, I weigh 280 pounds, and I've got pre-diabetes. And okay, what do I want to do now? I want to eat healthy versus lose weight.
Or I just want to be healthy. I want to
I
be at
want
my
to,
maximum health.
yeah, exactly. And saying I can't eat or I have to lose something, I don't know. The idea of losing something is not, I don't know, inherently something that I don't want to lose anything. I want to gain stuff. So yeah, I want to be healthy. That's a win for me. The weight will come off.
Yeah,
It's,
because part of the challenge that we face is there is oftentimes these behaviors are associated with a traumatized little kid who's trying to stay safe.
yes,
And oftentimes these behaviors, eating, drinking, whatever, are adaptive ways that that little kid found to stay safe from the childhood trauma or the environment, the emotional feeling state, what John calls it, emotional tone of the family of origin. And that once that kid adopts that strategy, he or she is not going to give it up easily. And
right.
it's not something you can sit. I can't sit little Marty down and say, let's have a rational conversation. Now, let me explain to you why overeating is not a good thing. It's like, not going to hear it. Not going to
No,
hear it.
right. And there's no saying, well, in a couple of years from now, you're not going to have the energy to burn off all the food you're eating, and it's going to cause a problem. You might even become diabetic and have fatty liver disease if you keep eating like that. It's like, little kids looking at me and goes, I'm never going to get that old.
Right. Or I don't believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You're,
this
you're not
is
gonna you're not gonna take away my coping mechanism. I don't care what you try to do,
right.
right? And it's not, and for me, we're on the topic of weight. Um, it's the first thing you learn as it's not the food that you ingest. It's the actual like they give little kids pacifiers that they suck on. Why do they call them pacifiers? Because when they suck on them, they become calmer. It's a way of soothing.
Right.
So from the get-go, that's put in. And then you have when I was in high school, my girlfriend, she had two grandmothers, a great grandmother and a grandmother, and we'd go over there after school. And how you feeling? How'd your day go? Oh, you look a little blue. Here, how about I give you some cookies and cake and some soda? And it's like, yeah, pretty soon we showed up over there with, oh man, my life is in the toilet. And next thing you know, out comes the cake and chocolate. It's like, I got this figured out.
Yeah.
It's like it's been continually reinforced. And if for me, it's like I can look back at and see those things, and I can see why I've been conditioned. And why have I been conditioned? This is kind of a logical progression. It's because I wasn't taught, and I didn't learn how to deal with my emotions in a way other than self-soothing through oral stimulation, right? And it's
Right. And
like,
the
okay,
reason, but there's a fundamental want behind that, which is I want to feel good. I want to feel safe. And that's why, when you were talking, I was thinking about, the fundamental desire of every organism is to survive.
yes.
It all starts there.
And not only survive, for the organism to survive, it has to have a portion of its time where it feels safe so it can restore and repair. It needs maintenance. If
Yep.
you're in a highly distressed state, that portion of the process of living healthy doesn't happen because you're too busy, uh, you know, doing
Surviving.
other things. So yeah, that's like all things like that. Food and any addiction is a way to relieve that stress or blot it out temporarily. Um, and that's what human beings do. It's an,
Well,
it's not a moral thing why you have an
no.
addiction. It's a biological need to give yourself relief from pain or suffering that you're under.
And
So
especially
you can
when, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Well, especially when we're little kids. Little kids have no sense of future. So it's
Right,
all about in the moment. In
right
this moment,
now.
I feel scared, so I want to find a way to feel safe. And
Yeah,
it doesn't matter to a little 4-year-old whether eating that chocolate ice cream might make him obese and impair his life as an adult if he does it regularly. That doesn't compute.
no,
That can't make any sense or difference to a little kid.
no.
All the
It's
kid wants to do is feel safe in the moment, which we carry forward as adults. That need for feeling good in the moment. Now we have the ability as we grow older to think and analyze and be rational, and that's partly how we start getting in trouble because we don't recognize the underlying psychological need to stay safe
right.
could contradict what our adult mind looks at and analyzes. And
Um,
that's the power of intentional living because it helps us get underneath the conscious mind into that subconscious realm, which could be upwards of 99% of the entire mind is in the subconscious.
yes. About 5 years ago, I was under some severe distress, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So I'm walking around the living room, and I just finally, I asked myself, what is it you want? And then out of nowhere comes this voice. All I want to do is be fucking safe. And it was like, wow, like we're talking about. And it was a life-defining moment. It's like, okay, I've been asking myself, what do I want? What do I want? And here's the bottom line. I want to be safe. And all
And
this
you
stuff.
recognized in that moment that that was a fundamental truth. That was a fundamental desire that you finally got to tell the truth to yourself.
And it explained the addiction, it explained the people pleasing, it explained the achievements, the overachieving, all these things. And it boils down to I want to feel safe. And it's like, okay, well then let's I intend to build my capacity to be and feel safe. All right. And that's now I know I know now at this point in time, that's what I want. I want to feel safe in my own skin. And how do I do that? And it's like, okay, well, what are we doing here? How do I need to create an environment for me to feel safe to handle the challenges that are coming my way? What do I need to learn? Oh, I need to learn patience and forgiveness. I intend to be patient and forgiveness. What you want starts to come out of that. And it's just, I was working with someone yesterday, just, and he's telling, he's doing well. And he's telling me, I'm doing all this stuff. And then, and then I have these thoughts, and, it's like, I'm doing something wrong, and it's like, oh, okay. So based on what you're experiencing, what do you want? And he just stopped and looked at me. He goes, I want to feel safe. All right. how do you create that? How do you create safety? I intend to be understanding, compassionate, and forgiving. And you just sit there and he goes, okay. But the initial answer to that question can be perplexing. I don't know what I want. I'm going to choose the wrong thing. And, you know, it's like, okay. So how about we talk about what happens if you don't have a focus in your life, a conscious focus? Well, then your subconscious will start running the show the way it always does. If you don't have a desire, if you don't have a want, if you want something, the old programming will come online and just keep on running. And if that's true, then the results will be the same.
And getting what it wants.
Well, I don't, yeah, you can label it like that, but it's just the old programming,
Right.
and it's just like the reason it's old programming is just because it's old programming, but it's got no malicious intent. It's there doing what it has the capacity to do based on what it was given, and the goal here is to keep you alive. It's not necessarily to allow you to thrive. Uh, that's what happens when you get into this question, what it is you want that you don't have, maybe, and you start that process of exploring, what's showing up in your life. The results are this is what you want, because we're always getting what we want. So look at the results that are in your life, and on a conscious level, own them. Um, I want to be in debt. Okay. Now what do you want? Now that you know that, um, I intend to live my life freely, openly, and honestly.
Prosperously.
Yeah, prosperously. Okay. And an hour from now, you have a situation. I don't know, something happens and you get upset, and then you recognize that you're upset, and then you own the fact that you're upset. I'm upset right now. Okay. Take a deep breath. What do you want? I intend to be peaceful, forgiving, and compassionate to myself and others. Okay. Boom. This is the repeat part that creates a different subconscious pattern of beliefs, and then the subconscious will start running with those new concepts and beliefs, new desires, giving it a destination, giving it a focus to move on.
So I'd just like to point out, Dan, for the anybody who's watching this for the first time, you just gave an example of the accountability tree practice, which is the heart of intentional living. It's to identify the truth of my experience in this moment. And we usually come to this because there's something that's making us really uncomfortable, unhappy, scared, out of sorts, and all of the regular tools that we used to use to try to get rid of that feeling just don't work anymore. And so we start there. What the truth is, I'm upset. Like you said, I'm upset. I'm scared. Um, and then just feel it. Just be willing to feel it. And in that feeling, we ask the question, okay, so as I feel this, what do I want? And I remember the first time I started doing this work 13, 14 years ago, I learned early on to stop in the moment after the question was asked and try not to answer it and just let an answer arise in my awareness. And it almost never failed to show up. And it usually surprised my conscious mind. It would usually be something like, I just want to be peaceful. I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be, uh, feel safe in my own skin. Those kinds of phrases would come up. And of course, being being stubborn. It took me a long time to see the pattern there and learn from my own self that all I really want is to be at peace, to be in love, to enjoy my life, and to claim it. The way we claim it is by putting it into the form of, as you just did, of an intention. I intend to
Yeah.
feel good. I intend to feel happy. I intend to be joyful. So it all starts from looking at what's going on in the moment. And as I said, those of us in recovery are usually here because there was something so out of sorts in our lives that and our old ways of dealing with it weren't working anymore, that we actually went and got help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
That has,
because there was a subconscious desire for relief that we didn't necessarily even give voice to.
yeah. And, is, I don't know. There's a lot going on, when this happens, but, uh, getting back to the topic, creating a desire, answering the question, what do you want? And then creating the intention. That's the first step to this. It's like a GPS device, it knows where you're at by itself, but it's completely useless until you tell it where you want to go, and then it can do what it's designed to do. Your subconscious is exactly the same way. Without a destination, without a focus or a desire, um, it sits there and doesn't know, well, okay, we're just going to continue to do the old, create the old results until something new comes along. And that's where we consciously, as practitioners or new people, this is where we're doing. By answering that question, we create a destination, and then that GPS, that subconscious, will work on it. Just like, you don't see what's working behind the scenes of the GPS app, but it's working. And that's what your subconscious does. It's also running in the background. By answering, here again, what it is you want, you give it that destination, that focus, and off it goes. And see what happens. And then, you know, uh, this doesn't mean that what you want in this moment doesn't mean it can't be changed 5 minutes from now. You're constantly getting updates on what's happening through your emotional body, and then you can make adjustments. Um, and then you can keep moving forward, and you can have as many desires as you want. There's no limit. You're a manifesting machine, and your subconscious and your mind can handle hundreds of wants. I want this. I want that. I want to feel safe. There isn't a limit to it.
Before we wrap up, would you talk about why it's okay to want what we want? Because what I discover is first in myself and then working with people over the years, it's just adult children of alcoholics. We just don't necessarily we think there's something wrong with wanting what we want.
Okay. Uh, my my discovery is that if I actually have a want, or I actually have to make a decision, there's a part of me that's terrified that it's going to be the wrong one. And the consequences of living in a dysfunctional family is my prediction rate has to be very high. Because if I make the wrong mistake, if I make the wrong prediction, if I say the wrong thing at the wrong time, the world collapses upon me. So rather than make a decision, I don't choose. I don't make a decision. I will go with the flow and adjust to it rather than me making a decision on what to do, which could be wrong. And it might kill me. So a lot of people struggle with that. And nothing's wrong.
So what you're saying is that the the wounded child confuses wanting with negative outcomes. Or not confused, that's not the right word, associates.
Right. If I choose wrong, dire consequences. So if I
Right,
don't choose, I'm safe.
right. And we don't want those dire consequences.
They're life-threatening.
Right.
The the organism, the what you learn in your childhood, if it never gets an update, you know, at the 7 or 8, it continues to use that information all the way into your adulthood. As a child, you're helpless, right? You are a victim. As an adult, you're not. But we have to get that update along the way so we can empower ourselves. We can say no, we can ask for help, we can leave, we can call the cops. There's a huge amount of choices that we as adults, but that little child didn't have any of those options other than to navigate it as best they could.
Right. So our only option as a little kid is inner. It's the inner work of creating a defense psychologically and emotionally against the trauma.
To
And
survive it.
as you were saying, if there's not an update, I love that point, that insight. If there's not an update, we're just going to continue to have that programming run our lives in our adult world, even though we have a lot more agency
Right.
as adults than we did as little kids.
And how that works too is that the things that you constantly remember, constantly think about, or use in your life, the brain reinforces those connections. So they
Hmm.
become not just automatic, they become quick. And it's really, really hard to change the old programming because it's created a super highway where the signal happens so quickly and automatically. It's hard to interrupt that.
But we're here
But
to tell you that it is changeable.
yes,
It is reprogrammable. It just takes commitment, repetition, patience, and compassion.
and it takes answering the question,
Right.
what do
Consciously.
I want?
Right.
Without that, you're
Well, and then converting that want into an intention.
yes,
So that's the statement of intention is the act of reprogramming the subconscious.
yes,
I intend to be patient. I intend to be kind. I intend to be compassionate. And um, you know, I was thinking earlier, Dan, like all the years that we've been doing this work, I I actually probably can't count the number of times I've asked myself, what do I want? I mean, it became a habit after about 3 years of doing the intentional living practice. And so so that was a reprogramming. I had to actually reprogram my mind to be willing to ask the question and know to ask the question because it was so against the earlier programming.
right, yeah. And why ask for something if you're not going to get it anyway?
Yep.
I don't
Or
deserve to
why
get what
ask
I
for it? You
want.
don't you don't deserve it.
All these things
Yeah.
coming together. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, and all those are paths to healing. When you recognize that this information is coming, it's an awareness of what's stored in your subconscious. Then you can be accountable for it. I don't believe I deserve to be okay. As we know, we can say that out loud. The truth is, I don't believe I deserve to get what I want. And I mean, right now it's just I'm feeling that state right now where it's like, wow, there's something in there that's true. Yeah. Okay. Based on what I just experienced, based on my what I'm experiencing in my body, and the fact that I've stated this truth. What do I want? What do I want to have now? Um, I intend to be worthy. I intend to celebrate myself and not tolerate. I intend to celebrate myself. I intend to be the gift that I am. Wow.
And the beauty of the work is, as you said before, is that this is a moment to moment activity. 5 minutes from now, I may have lost that energy. Something else. This is life. Things always change. Our body is, I'd like to say, is an emotional tuning fork. It's always got some kind of feeling going on. And when those feelings become difficult to bear, that's when we can do this work as a tool for making something different happen. I intend to be safe. I intend to feel calm. I intend to feel peaceful. For me,
Yeah.
the overwhelming feeling that I had from my childhood background was stress and anxiety. And they were just, like you said, they happen quicker than I can snap my fingers in any given situation. Now it doesn't happen like that anymore. Now I don't I just I've been able to reprogram this subconscious through my desire to experience peace and happiness and joy and calm,
Yep.
such that I don't usually have stress or anxiety unless there's actually something stressful happening. And which is now it's just a normal human reaction. Somebody cuts me off in traffic, I notice that my adrenaline jumps and it feels anxious, and now I have choice. Okay, so what do I want here? I want to calm down. I intend to calm down quickly or whatever. It's just all the difference in the world, as opposed to before I did this,
Yep.
I would sit there and scream at the person, and
Oh
uh,
yeah.
then I would like consciously elevate my anxiety and stress.
Well, of course.
Actually, subconsciously, I didn't do it consciously. It just like it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah. And the
Now,
intent
now what feels like the right thing to do is to calm myself down.
and you know, 5 years ago, my intention was I intend to be safe. And now the intention is I intend to feel and be safe in my emotional body.
There you go.
That's what I want.
So, my friends, as we come to the end of our time together, I want to just invite you to consider joining us in our intentional living group meetings. This is where we do the work. We share with each other this practice. We share with each other our anxieties and stresses, and we share with each other the practice of learning to identify what we want and setting them as intentions. There are 4 intentional living practice meetings every week. There are different days, different times. The information about the days and times will be at the end of the podcast, and along with the Zoom addresses. They're all on Zoom. So no matter where you are in the world, you're welcome to come and join us for an intentional living experience, so that you can find out whether this can work for you to create the life that you want, um, and even to begin to to identify what it is that you want for yourself. So before we wrap up, Dan, any last comments?
Um, yeah, just know that you cannot make the wrong choice by answering the question, "What do you want?" You can't make the wrong decision.
I'd say amen.
Thank
There's
you.
no wrong answer.
There's no wrong answer.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks,
Thank,
Marty.
thanks everybody.